Hey everybody, it's Kaylani, and welcome back to my book corner. Today we are going to be talking about the rest of the books I read in April. I think I have 9 more books that I read in April. That brought us to a total of 16, I think, if I did the math right. So we will go ahead and hop right in. The next book that I experienced during April was an audiobook, and it was You Are Not Alone by Greer Hendrickson and Sarah Pekkanen. It was an audiobook. I can't remember if I said that 2 seconds ago, but it was an audiobook. It was the book for the Literally Dead book club hosted by Books and Lala. And so I'm having some issues with the Books and Lala books because so far I have not enjoyed a single book we've read. But this one was a 2-star for me. This one follows a woman who watches another woman kill herself, and then like a ton of crazy things start to unravel, and I don't know, I predicted quite a few of the things. I think there was like one thing I didn't predict, but it was like a minor subplot that really didn't affect the whole plot of the story. So like I said, I rated it a 2-star, and hopefully next month, I know we're reading the guest list next month, so hopefully I don't know, we'll see how I go with this one. But that was the next book I read in April. So the next book that I read in April is probably my favorite book that I read in April, and it would be the graphic novel Dancing at the Pity Party by Tyler Feeder. I'm not sure, but this is a graphic memoir about the death of her mother and kind of how she went through the death of her mother and what happened afterwards and how she's coping with it now. Her mom died 10 years ago, and so she definitely has had some time to reflect on the time, but the whole thing is like amazing. And I know I like gushed about this book previously in my like book haul, but we're gonna gush about it some more because I love this book so much. It is in full color, and I love her illustration style. It's adorable. And then at the end, she has this picture of her mother, who is adorable. And then there's this whole section of like memories and photos, like real life photos of her and her family. At the end here. And I don't know, this is just a really great story about just like dealing with death, because I feel like in our society we don't talk about death a lot. Like it's kind of something like that's an afterthought, and I don't know, just the way that she's able to reflect on it and handle it, it was really amazing. And I think that if you're someone who has lost anyone, I think this would be a book you can connect with. And I mean, even if you haven't lost anyone, I personally am very lucky to have not lost anyone very close to me. So I have never gone through this personal trauma, but I can only imagine, right? So like this was a really good way, and she put it into such good words, and I love this so much. And if you are able to get this, highly recommend. 10 out of 10, would buy again. It's just so good. And like I said, it goes from right before her mother was diagnosed up and until I guess now. Like she has some reflections about current day, and it goes through the funeral and just like how she feels, regrets, and how she sometimes feels like her sisters did not get to like have the same experience as she did because she was the oldest child. And it was so good, and like just go buy it, okay? Just go buy it. So Dancing at the Pity Party, 10 out of 10. The next book I read at the end of this month was YearOne by Nora Roberts, and this is a book about a pandemic. What should we not read during a pandemic? A book about pandemics. This actually was a pretty good read. I enjoyed most of it. It is, or does have magical elements as well. And I tabbed this one at the beginning because there were so many characters, and so like every character introduction I tabbed, and then at the beginning there was like too real because some of the things like follow kind of some of the stuff that's happening now. So if something got said that I was like, ooh, too close to home, I tabbed it. I was like, too close to home. And then on the inside, we had this, I didn't even realize this book had this in here, but we had this beautiful illustration of like New York in ruins. And we love that. So, that is another book I read this month. Like, I think I gave it, I think it's a 4-star. I did enjoy it, like I said. And it made me, like, feel like our pandemic wasn't the worst because theirs is much worse than this story. So, I felt bad saying that. But, yeah, so it was a pretty good read, and I am excited to pick up the next one because I think there's 3 books currently out in this series. So I am ready to go on to the next book. So the next book I read was Dragonmark, and I have Dragonsworn, which is the next book in the series. I listened to Dragonmark on audio, so I don't obviously own it, but this is a series about the dragon Years in the Dark Hunter series, and it follows Ilrian, I think is how you pronounce his name, and Eadlyn is the female protagonist, and I have a lot of mixed feelings about this book because I have read all of the books, and I love Sherilyn Kenyon, and I grew up with her, like I read her in high school, but Dragonmark should not have been a full novel. Should not have been. There were parts from 2 other books that made up this novel, and I'm not saying like these things also happen in these novels. I'm saying word for word conversations, not even from a different perspective. And yeah, like the actual people the story was about was pretty good, but it was like the first 5 chapters and then like the last chapter, and then the rest all in the middle was like the same book as 2 other books. So I had already read those parts and I got to skip ahead a little bit. But the new information, I would say it was probably a 4-star for me, but the book as a whole, I would say is a 2-star for me. I'm really glad I did not buy the physical book. I got it, I think, on sale on Audible. So I was able to pick it up for a little bit cheaper than the full price book, and I'm really glad I got to pick it up for cheaper. It was really a disappointment. I don't even talk about it ever again. But the next book that we read in April, or I read, we did not, well, you might have read it, I don't know, but We Ride Upon Sticks by Quan Berry, and this one also has some fun illustration in the beginning of it. And this one follows a group of field hockey, or a group of like a team, a field hockey team, and they want to win nationals, and they are going to do everything they can, including witchcraft. And I like that their Book of Magic, or whatever you want to call it, was an Emilio Estevez notebook. Like, that is iconic. So it is set in the 70s, I believe, so that's why Emilio Estevez, and that just like kills me because they start referring to it as Emilio. So they like talk about the magic as Emilio, so like Emilio made this happen and Emilio made that happen, and it cracks me up. But their representation in this book is pretty amazing. There was a very ethnically diverse representation, as well as sexuality representation, not even just amongst the children, but also amongst their parents. So that was interesting. And like, there's even a really good trans well, I don't know if it's really good, but from an outsider's perspective, I feel like it was a good trans representation because you didn't realize what was happening until the very last chapter. Like, you didn't understand, or personally I didn't, I guess because I didn't have any of these feelings or anything like that, but the trans storyline in this is really cute, or not cute, but do you get what I'm saying? Like, I just really liked the trans storyline. So, good representation. I feel like for LGBT and then ethnicities, I think there's like an Asian child and then like an adopted Asian child, and then there's definitely an African American, and then there's white people, and they're so diverse. It was a very diverse cast of field hockey characters, and there is actually one male character on the field hockey team. So yeah, it's very good. I liked it. It is pretty dense. I did listen to the audiobook for some of it, but I do think the audiobook experience hindered my ability a little bit because of how many characters there are, because it's a full team and it just kind of like flows in and out of everyone's perspective because it's in third person. But I enjoyed it nonetheless. I think I gave it 4 stars. So there is that one, and we are happy to have read it. So the next book I read was a very, very smutty book. It was Desperate Measures by Katie Robert, and I believe the name of this series is the Twisted Villains series. And in this one we follow a Jafar and Jasmine retelling, and they are like, I don't know what to call them. They're like mafia guys. Like Jasmine's father was like a leader in his area, in his mafia. And he pretty much sells Jasmine to Ali, who is obviously the Aladdin character. And Jafar comes to her rescue, but in a very dark way. I definitely think that if you are not into smut, this is not for you. This is like heavy smut. This is the most smutty book I've ever read, and I'm still a little shook by it. Like, my childhood brain could not comprehend. I guess if you want a trigger warning, or it's not really a trigger warning. So in the book there is consensual, non-consensual sex. So if that's not something you're into, this definitely would not be the book for you, because it relies pretty heavily on that type of sexual interactions. But that is that one. And then I went ahead and picked up the second book, which is about Hades and Megra and Hercules, and I didn't make it all the way through that one yet. I've started picking up other books just because these are smutty, and sometimes I'm just like, whoa, because I'm a small child at heart. So I know that there's like, I guess, baby girl daddy stuff, and then there's definitely some threesomes, so with Hercules, so there's that. So if you're not into any of that kind of stuff, how many times can I say so? Because it's making me uncomfortable to talk about these things. Here we are though. Here we are. Moving on. And the next book that I read was The Two Lives of Lydia Byrd by Josie Silver. And this is about a woman whose fiance is killed on the day of her birthday, which is tragic. Like, having anyone near you is like, who dies is tragic, but like on your birthday, like that real sucks. But she is obviously devastated that what she's calling love of her life died, and she stops eating, can't sleep, all that I don't want to say stereotypical, but natural grieving process. And then her doctor prescribes her some sleeping pills, and she is able to go into this other realm where her fiance is not dead. And so she kind of gets whisked away into that life, and then some choices happen, and she has to decide whether she wants to live in the real world, or if this other world where not everything exists exactly the same is what she wants to exist in. I gave it a 3-star. I'm not 100% sure I'm comfortable with like the pill taking, I guess, as a way of escapism. I do believe that if you need stuff like that, that it is obviously something you need. but I don't know. I'm not sure. I just don't know about the pill thing. And I think that the idea of having someone die and then being able to move on, because she's only 28, I think, in this story, so she's pretty young, and being able to understand that life moves on and all that kind of stuff is a good topic to talk about. I'm rambling. I don't know where I'm going with this. I liked this book. I liked the concepts that it had in it. It felt a little bit long. I feel like the last couple chapters could have been condensed down, or like the last third of the book could have been condensed down. The ending was satisfactory though, because we got the ending. At least I got the ending I wanted. So that is another book that we read in April. And the last book that we read in April was a good little YA mystery called The Amateurs. And I did not realize this was a series, so I guess I'm going to have to be picking up the other two books, because this one was a ride. And I am still processing the twist at the end, because I did not see it coming. Like we've probably discussed in previous videos, I do not normally read thrillers or mysteries. I'm much more into romance and contemporary. So this was kind of like a perfect one for me, because it's contemporary and it's YA, so it wasn't like gory or anything. But I gave it 3 stars because it was just like an average contemporary. The mystery was a nice little twist. And like I said, I did not guess the ending of this, and I am really excited to get the next one, because I want to see if they catch anyone. So that is The Amateurs by Sarah Shepard, and that was the last book that we read this month. Alright, so that was the last book we read, and that is all I have to talk to you about this month. Let me know if you read anything good this month that you think I should be picking up. Like, comment, subscribe, all that good stuff, and I will see you next time. Bye!